Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for joining us. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today we're here with David Chaplin of SearchDex. David, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Hall.
So what was your background before joining SearchDex? What did you do before this one?
Well, I think I'd start with a little bit later in my career. I was a senior manager at KPMG in a firm-wide technology group, reporting directly to the CTO, and that actually got me involved in knowledge management and search technology. After 8 years there, I went off to co-found a company in advanced search technologies and in the AI space, and founded that in 98, exiting in 2006, selling to our largest client, which was Kroll, and stayed on at Kroll for 3 years as vice president of Advanced SearchTechnologies. So after my 3 years at Kroll, Dan Patterson of Patterson Toma Family Office said to me, let's go find another one. And I went out, and with his assistance, we did a leveraged buyout of SearchDex, where I landed as CEO in January of 2011. So I think that's a synopsis pretty quick of where I come from and where I'm at.
Well, great. So why did you choose the digital marketing search space to pursue at this time?
I thought it was an interesting, I'll say, follow-on to doing something that would have been more knowledge management and internal search related, and that a lot of the problems are the same in digital marketing. And with us focused in an e-commerce area, it's really putting the right information in front of the right people at the right time. And in this instance, it's making sure that a client is properly represented in a way that Google or the other search engines will recognize it and get those products or services in front of somebody who's doing the search. So a lot of it's the same. And at the same point, it's now done in a way where you're having to comply with somebody else's search engine versus dictating how search is done. So it was an interesting problem for me, and it has proven to be pretty much everything I thought it was. It's a very exciting space and very challenging space.
So for the investors out there, what's your advice to them about investing in this space? What should they know before they write that first check?
Well, I think first and foremost, and I might be a little biased in this, the space is full of consultancies, and it adds a little bit of distraction, I'll say, to what I believe are technical problems in solving. So I would be looking for technology over consulting. And then within the technology, I'd be looking for platform versus tools. I think solutions and platform are what's necessary to scale and to meet the needs of clients. And obviously, you're always looking for differentiation and for a level of established relationships and the ability to keep those relationships vibrant with a level of stickiness. And obviously, everybody wants the growth potential, which this space that we're involved in now is growing at an amazing rate and is very large numbers. So the market's right, the technology is there, and I'd be looking for that.
Great. Well, how is the search space evolving as an industry? Of course, it's growing very fast and a lot's happening, but what do you think are the key drivers behind its evolution today?
I think what's really happening is a lot of efforts going in from in e-commerce on user experience and customer experience. And we're playing more on the customer experience side of that. So there's a large focus on it. And search is requiring almost a mass customization of how do I present what I have to offer to an unknown searcher versus when somebody lands on a website. Nowadays, you know who they are. You know what they're through personalization. You can make product recommendations and those kind of things. But an anonymous searcher, you don't have that information. So it's an interesting thing in that what's happening on the site and how do you position that site for an unknown user. And what you see in the space is an increasing move towards AI and machine learning, which is basically surfacing again on the native e-commerce site. Those same technologies are critical in folding them in to anticipate and create the right search experience as well. So again, if you look at it, it's about Google, and I'll use Google as the general search engine since it's the elephant in the room. It's Google user experience, and search, therefore, is becoming increasingly critical in attracting new customers and new eyeballs. And I think the biggest thing that's interesting and evolving, there's a collapsing of brick and mortar and e-commerce into a single item, which is just called commerce. It's literally the ability to differentiate yourself by having a very, very smooth ability to handle a customer, whether he's online or in the store. And search is playing a big part there, from product research, mobile devices, people buying and researching and stuff online while they're in the store, I should say. And so I think it's just been central, search, to a growth in an e-commerce space, because it's all about eyeballs and new customer acquisition.
Well, it's certainly growing large and growing fast, continuous, and it sounds like it's swallowing up the brick and mortar retail. Where else is search evolving into, aside from the retail space? Is it getting more specific to niches, or is it continuing to be more horizontal in its growth?
It's growing in both areas. I think what's just happening is just such an influx and constant exponential growth of availability and access to information. And what's happening more and more is the search engines are becoming much better at recognizing intent, removing the need, becoming more conceptual in nature. So you're seeing growth in every direction, and a growth in dependence, especially in the mobile device, of localization, search for services, search for products, search for information around pretty much anything. I think Google is probably the homepage for a disproportionate amount of people when they log onto a computer. So it's just central to everything.
So what are the challenges in starting a business in this sector, and just in this space itself? What are the regulatory, technical, or marketing challenges a startup faces?
I think there's technical challenge in that speed matters. The rate of change is intense, especially is search related to e-commerce. Google is rapidly changing, algorithm changes, best practices changes. Then you have the e-commerce growth in general, of number of products, the need to get those products in front of people. So first and foremost, it's speed and the ability to scale. So it's a technical problem. And then there's a problem that definitely exists in that what we do really would be defined as a digital marketing discipline, yet there's a chasm between digital marketing and IT organizations within retailers. So again, that becomes down to, how does a digital marketer get what's necessary with low to no impact on IT? And that is a fairly major hurdle to get over. And that's, again, a technical issue. And third in this space, expertise is absolutely critical. So it still comes down to understanding search and optimization. And then on top of that, codifying that into a platform and the ability to implement it for large and growing retailers.
So how does SearchDex fit into this search landscape today? Where does it play?
Well, we are first and foremost a technology platform and solution. And we are in a sea of consultancies. So we have definitely differentiated ourselves in that we recognize the challenge is getting something done and accomplished by a digital marketer that will cause pages to be available through Google and accessible to searchers, and in fact are in front of searchers when the retailer has a product that meets that requirement. So we play as a technical integration to drive online growth and search visibility. And that puts us in a pretty unique spot. There are very precious few that do anything like what we do. Most digital marketing agencies and consultancies are in fact giving recommendations that the digital marketing team then has to take to their IT to get implemented. we bypass the ticket, empower the marketer to, in fact, affect a change, cascade changes across an entire site, publish new pages, suggest pages that should exist. And again, this is putting the power in the digital marketing hands, and so giving them the ability to protect brand and be timely, which is becoming increasingly important.
Well, it's great. And what direction do you see SearchDex going in the coming months?
We're folding in additional capabilities around AI type recommendations, further data integrations. I think the biggest issue in the space right now is the use of data and the amount of data that's available, and the data should drive recommendations, and a platform needs to be able to implement those recommendations. So we're going to continue down that path since it's still a large problem. And quite frankly, we don't have the market penetration we believe we should have. So we have a unique solution, and we're going to just continue to expand on it. But most of it's in the data and the analytics side to drive recommendations. And then on the integration side to make sure we can affect those changes. So we don't want to be a recommendation only. We want to be soup to nuts, recommended and implemented.
Well, in the last few minutes that we have here today, what else should we cover?
Well, I think from a SearchDex perspective, I think it's critical in what we've done over the last 2 years, and I believe this goes back to even one of your prior questions. We're continuing to invest in technology and development because you're just never done. And as we consume more and more data and see greater needs and pull from the searching community, I think it's increasingly important that we continue those investments. And at the same time, we are actively now looking to launch sales and marketing efforts to capitalize on the 2 years of development we just went through to enhance our platform and make it more consumable. So it's an exciting time for SearchDex. And we're looking forward to actually having more conversations and driving more product development from those conversations as we solve retailers' online problems.
That sounds great. So how best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
I know you have some information there, but I give email address, and cell phone number is probably good for me. Love to talk to anybody and everybody, to be honest. And I'm D. Chaplin at SearchDex.com. Phone number 972-746-9164.
All right. We'll put those in the show notes and hope to generate some emails and calls for you with it. And I want to thank you for taking time to join us today, and hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Hall.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early-stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.